Good morning, dear students. In continuation to instrumental methods of analysis, we already come across electrical measurements of instrumental methods of analysis. Next is optical measurements of instrumental methods of analysis. Under that, first atomic absorption spectroscopy, and next, let us see what is atomic absorption spectroscopy. So this atomic absorption spectroscopy is defined as the absorption of radiation which is coming from hollow cathode lamp, and that is absorbed by the element atoms present in the ground state in the flame, and a determination of this how much intensity of that light radiation is absorbed is related calculated with the concentration of the element. This is the basis of atomic absorption spectroscopy. I'll repeat: absorption of radiation coming from hollow cathode lamp by the element atoms present in the ground state, and the determination of the intensity of that absorbed radiation with the concentration of the element is the basis of atomic absorption spectroscopy. So here, let us look into the principle theory behind it. So whatever the sample that you need to analyze under this method is prepared in the form of solution, that is suitable salt solution, okay, using the suitable solvent. So now this sample is aspirated into the flame, aspirated into the flame. When it is aspirated into the flame, what are the changes taking place? Let us see sequentially one by one. So initially the sample will be in the solution form. When you aspirate it, when you make it in the form of mist using the nebulizer, so this will be solution phase will be converted into smallest droplets in the form of aerosol like mist. So when this mist comes in contact with the thermal energy, that is a flame, so then it that salt, whatever this element which is present in the solution will be leaving behind, will be left by the evaporation of the solvent present in it. It means the solvent in it will be evaporated, and that mist will be left out with the, now it is with the solid present in it. Now this solid, since it is under thermal energy contact, that is with the help of this flame, it undergoes vaporization, and after this vaporization, so it converts into that solid. Mx is converted into gaseous form, that is Mx. Now here undergoes dissociation. As a result of dissociation, it leads to atomization. It means now metal and its other component, that is a gas. Okay, both will be in the gaseous phase. Now these metals are now under ground state. Now when these ground state metal atoms are present, to these metal atoms present in this flame front, in this flame area, when this radiation is passed from this hollow cathode lamp, now they will, it is characteristic to that particular kind of element we are analyzing, and those element atoms present in the ground state will absorb the radiation coming from the hollow cathode lamp, okay, and they will be undergoing a higher energy state. Now how much amount of radiation is absorbed, that can be calculated by knowing the how much radiation is transmitted. It means it is coming from this source, no? So now how much is transmitted, it is made passed through this monochromator, and it reaches the recording device with the help of photocell. So this is how we will be measuring the absorption of the element. Okay, here I'll repeat: metal salt solution is atomized, that will produce gaseous ground state atoms, and the light radiation passed through the flame is containing the atoms present in the ground state. Now the part of this light is absorbed, and this extent of absorption is proportional to the number of atoms present in the ground state, okay, in the flame, and concentration of the solution. It means how much concentration we are feeding here, so that particular concentration will provide the required number of atoms. It means that many atoms will be present, and therefore here the measurement of the absorbance by a suitable detector with the help of device is measured. So this is how the measurement is carried out. This is the principle behind this atomic absorption spectroscopy. Let us look into the outer feature of this instrument. This is the outer feature, how this atomic absorption spectrophotometer looks like. These are all the cathode lamps for each element. I will explain it later how these cathode lamps are changed. This is cathode lamp, this is the ampoule you are feeding, this is the flame, and inside this all this process what I explained just now in this principal part, theory part, that will take place. So here let us look into the instrumentation. So in this instrumentation, what happens here is the hollow cathode lamp is used. So this hollow cathode lamp contains cathode and anode, and when this cathode and anode which is embedded inside this glass tube, so where the voltage is applied between 500 to 1000 voltage, then it is initially already filled with inert gas, which may be argon, neon, taken in this bulb at the lower pressure. And this now, when you apply the voltage between these two electrodes, that is cathode and anode, now the gas present inside will undergo ionization. Okay, the gas present inside will undergo ionization. Now the cations of the gas move fast towards cathode. The cations present in the gas move fast towards cathode. It means here it contains inert gas molecules. Now when it undergoes ionization, the cations of the gas, inert gas, they will move toward this cup-shaped cathode. Okay, and this cup-shaped cathode is uh, made with the element which is under analysis. And now these atoms will be moved. It means it will keep on removing the atoms. It means when these cations of the inert gas molecules will be reaching towards cathode here. Okay, so they will be making the atoms to remove from this cathode area. Okay, and these atoms, now the produced atoms will strike with the inert gas ions present inside this tube, inside this bulb, and absorb the energy, go to the higher energy state. It means transition takes place. And as a result of this, they will come back to the ground state, that is original state, revert back to ground state, original state. Now during this process, from this excited to ground state, it will emit characteristic radiation which is particular to that of element, so which passes through the quartz window. This is the quartz window. Okay, with this quartz window it comes out, and it incident on rotating chopper. So the rotating chopper is provided with, which produces intermittent beam of radiation. For that it is provided intermittent beam of radiations it will provide, now which will be coming and incident on the unexcited ground atom, that is ground state metal atoms, element atoms which are already present in this flame of this burner. Now these atoms will absorb, the atoms present in this flame which are under ground state, they will absorb the radiations coming from this hollow cathode lamp, absorb radiation. So now how much amount of atoms are present, that much amount of radiation is absorbed. Now how much after absorption, some amount of radiation will be transmitted. So now how much it is transmitted, now that is passed through this monochromator. What is the purpose of this monochromator here? The purpose of monochromator is because your sample may contain what you are feeding, it may contain several elements present in it. So all the elements present in it undergo this same process. This process will be absorption of radiation may take place. The amount, some amount should be coming out. Now when this is coming out at this time, so the monochromator is put. The purpose of monochromator is we are analyzing here only one element at a time, because it may contain several element atoms. So we want only one atom, one element to be analyzed at the time. So hence this monochromator will set the particular wavelength depending on the element or metal to be analyzed. So now this absorbs all other radiations, unwanted radiation which is not required for you, which absorbs, then allows only the selected wavelength. Okay, allows only the selected wavelength through the exit slit, and it reaches the detector. and this detector generates the current which is proportional to the concentration of atoms present in the flame. It means how much atoms are present now, how much they will observe, and remaining is transmitted. Now how much is transmitted is depending on the how much is observed by these atoms. This is how the correlation is made. I'll repeat. The detector detects the light and generates the current, and this current is proportional to the concentration of atoms present in it. Then later, so this reaches the data processor, where we get a recording or reading in the form of absorbance. This is how the experiment is carried out. Okay, and let us look into the each part of this instrumentation. So here, as seen, it's a beaker, small beaker, where you need to keep the sample. Okay, so here it contains the nebulizer. So this nebulizer is creating a fine spray of the sample for the introduction into the flame. Okay, when it enters this, so this will allow the sample to convert into this mist form. So this converts liquid sample into mist form. It is supplied with this, and with the help of this compressed jet of air and fuel coming from this uh, entry, so now it reaches the mixing chamber. Here fuel and air and the sample are mixed together, thoroughly mixed together, and this will be entering into this flame. Okay, since it catches fire and it undergoes combustion there. Now once this is sprayed into this flame, okay, now how much the atoms are entering through this process. Now the series of reactions changes what we seen in case of the previous discussion. Their liquid will be converted into mist, and mist will be uh, evaporated with solvent, and leaving being the solid. That solid will undergo again evaporation. After evaporation, again that leads to the gaseous formation, gaseous atoms formation, and those atoms will start absorbing the radiation that will reach this monochromator, which provides selected wavelength, and it reaches here. Okay, here the atomizer in which the sample is burned with the help with the flame produced by the fuel and oxidant combination with this total mixing chamber. Okay, next, light source. What is this light source? We spoke that hollow cathode lamp. What is this hollow cathode lamp? Here in atomic absorption spectroscopy, we need a line source. So this line source produces light at a specific wavelength. Which element you are analyzing, to that it will be giving that specific wavelength. Now this light source is used to produce a narrow spectrum of this light beam of light. So what it contains? It consists of glass envelope. This consists of glass envelope containing cathode, which is in the form of cup shape or cylindrical shape. Okay, the element which is to be analyzed, that will be taken in the form of this cup shape. This is what is cathode. If you are analyzing for nickel, it is made up of nickel. If you are analyzing for sodium, it is made up of sodium. If you are analyzing for copper, it is made up of copper. It's coated with the element which is under analysis. And anode is made up of tungsten. Anode is made up of tungsten. Now the tube is filled with inert gas at lower pressure. Inert gas like argon, neon at lower pressure. Okay, on applying the voltage between 500 to 1000 volts, then what happens? This neon or argon gas undergoes ionization. As a result of ionization, what happens? The cations of this inert gas will keep reaching toward this cathode, which is coated with this element. So these atoms will be released out. It means it will be making the atoms to produce. This process is called as sputtering. It means the inert gas cations will reach towards this cathode, and it makes the metal atoms which are already coated in it, it will be released. That process, the releasing process, is called as sputtering. Okay, then these metal atoms will be produced, and it strikes with it collides with the um, gaseous ions. Okay, ions present in the tube. Okay, in this chamber, cathode lamp chamber.
So now due to the collision between the ions, inert gas ions and the metal atoms, inert gas ions and the
metal atoms get excited and go to the higher energy state.
Okay, when they come back, so it will emit characteristic radiation. Now this will come out of this quartz window. This is what is the role of the light source in this measurement. Next, monochromator. Why the monochromator is provided? It selects the given wavelength of radiation from the source. It means which element you are analyzing, that will be can be set here. It may be prism or diffraction grating, with the help of which you can fix the wavelength, whichever the wavelength. If you are analyzing for nickel, 393 nanometer, for copper 325 nanometer, for barium 554 nanometer, like that you can select the required wavelength which is particular to that element which you are analyzing. And the detector, your detector, it contains the photomultiplier tube, and in turn this will be connected to recorder. It gives the absorption readings. This is what the diagram of hollow cathode lamp. Okay, cathode, and this is anode here. This is the Pyrex total strength Pyrex body, Pyrex glass material, quartz window. This is what it is tilted here and is shown. So like this instrumentation goes. Now we can use this atomic absorption spectroscopy for the analysis of any element. Say about here, about 70 elements can be analyzed, which is not possible in case of flame photometry. There are only limited number of elements can be analyzed, that too alkali and alkaline earth metals. For example, if you are analyzing the amount of nickel present in the given sample, okay, in any given sample, if nickel is present, that can be analyzed. What is to be done? This can be carried out by calibration curve method. Okay, so here now before proceeding into the experiment, now you need to prepare a standard solution of the analyte material. That is, if you are analyzing for nickel, then nickel chloride solution like NaCl you will be taking in case of flame photometry. Here also this nickel chloride is prepared in the standard solution. Okay, and these standard solutions are added in the smaller aliquots like 2, 4, 6 required volumes of these solutions can be added with the help of burette to these each volumetric flask. Okay, and each one is diluted up to mark. Each one is diluted up to mark. Okay, and after this is over, then you have to take a solution where element which is under analysis. It means if you want to measure the if you want to find out the concentration of nickel in given sample, even that is also taken in the same way and it is diluted. Okay, after this is over, now you need to aspirate each one. Before aspiration, again as usual, you need to feed distilled water into this. Distilled water is aspirated into the film, because and by aspirating distilled water, so it means distilled water means it does not contain any ions. So that's why you are using distilled water, and that after aspirating that, and you are setting the instrument to read 0, so that same distilled water you have used now for this series of solution preparation. Now no absorption, nothing can be happening with the help of that. Okay, so that's why you are setting it to read 0. Then after this is over, now one after the other, one by one, you need to aspirate each one into the flame. Okay, and absorbance of each solution is measured using atomic absorption spectrophotometer. Then you need to plot a calibration graph. Okay, a calibration graph is prepared. So what is this calibration? This is the absorption response and copper concentration of the metal. Here, if you are analyzing for nickel, nickel you can put. If you are analyzing for copper, copper can be put. Here, this is the sample tabular column where you are taking the solution, okay, with in different volumes, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like that, and the concentration of that ion in each one you are taking, okay, with proper dilution. Then absorption of each one you are recording in this column. Okay, sample one here I am showing here. So and in the same way, The sample is also properly, it's already in the diluted form. Even this absorption also need to be recorded using the instrument, like the process you have carried out in case of standards, and it is also measured, that is also recorded. Now from the calibration curve, see again as usual, so whatever the solutions you have prepared, 2, 4, 6, 8, like that, so this absorption of these each solution response you have recorded, this will be the standards. Okay, and this whatever the unknown, where you need to find out the concentration of your nickel, that is also taken and it is aspirated and its reading is recorded. This reading is falling between the range of solutions you have prepared, range of solutions you have used, and obviously when this is there, then absorption response also falling between these. So for example, if here the nickel concentration present in it, it is giving the absorption reading here, then from here you need to mark one line and make this line to intersect this line which is having this standard calibration curve, and from here you draw one more line to this x-axis, it will give how much amount of nickel is present in it. And here you may be seeing here little deviation. What is this deviation? We say that it obeys Beer's law. Here Beer's law is actually applicable successfully for the solutions which are present in the dilute form. It means this linearity cannot be expected. As we see in case of Beer's law, linearity is not expected here at higher concentration. Why? Because Beer's law successfully describes the behavior of dilute samples only, and here non-linearity arises. Why this non-linearity? It is because of the range of chemicals and instrumental factors, like interaction between the analyte atoms and the uh, interest of the other atoms. It means other atoms also may interfere, that is one factor. And these instrumental factors also includes stray light, noise, monochromator efficiency. It means the monochromator efficiency may not be exact even for the selected wavelength. Even all those factors will lead to this deviation at higher concentration. That is why Beer's law is successfully describes only in with the samples in the dilute concentration. It means in the working concentration. If higher concentration, this deviation will be observed. Okay, so this is about the method of measurement by using this atomic absorption spectroscopy. How to find out the concentration of nickel present in the given sample. If you are analyzing copper, copper also can be taken. So here I mentioned in the beginning in this diagram. See, this is the one copper, this is the one hollow cathode lamp. It means if you are analyzing for nickel, so the cathode present in this hollow cathode lamp is coated with nickel only. Okay, if you are analyzing for copper, then copper may be there. If you are analyzing for any other element, if it is potassium or whatever the element, so same element, which means for each element you need to change the hollow cathode lamp. If you are analyzing for nickel, then inside nickel containing cathode is there in this hollow cathode lamp, that is to be used. If you are using copper, copper containing cathode inside the hollow cathode lamp, that is to be used. So okay, so likewise whichever specific to that element, this hollow cathode lamp need to be changed. Now next, what are the applications of it? So these can be used for quantitative analysis of metal elements like sodium, potassium, copper, magnesium, etc., which is present in samples like soil. It can be used in the agricultural field. Okay, for analyzing the quality of the soil. Based on that, they can judge which crop is suitable for the land and all. And plant materials. Okay, suppose in the plant material, what are the elemental composition present in it, that also can be analyzed. How much element is present, for example, in the chlorophyll, that is containing magnesium. So in that chlorophyll, in that leaf, how much magnesium is there in that, that also can be estimated. Okay, and here Another advantage is very lowest concentration of even up to about ppm or even less than that also can be accurately measured. It is used to analyze metal ions like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, etc. present in blood, urine sample, or tissues, and this also can be used for the forensic purposes, where some death has happened, where you need to find out if any elemental which is toxic in nature, if it is present in that person, if he has died with that, even that also can be done. So that is the advantage. Even it finds its application in not only biological field, it also applicable in case of in the field like forensic laboratory, forensic means okay, forensic lab purposes. It is also used to determine the toxic metal elements present like copper, nickel, zinc in the food industry, food processing industry. For example, raw materials will be procured from different sources from the farmers. So that is subjected to this processing purpose in the food industry. There, if that crop which is grown by the farmers, if it is containing copper, nickel, zinc, or any other elements, which how this comes means they may be using some effluent water, which is just like the water, sewage water, which comes like a river in cities. So even that is also used for agriculture purpose in nearby places because they can't find water, huge amount of water for their agriculture purpose. They may use that water that may contain copper, nickel, zinc, or all these metals. So these can be analyzed. If that crop has grown by consuming that sewage water containing these elements, that also can be analyzed because they are all toxic metals, which is not good for human health and the animal health. Okay. And to estimate lead present in petroleum, how much lead content is present in petroleum, even that also can be analyzed. It is also used to determine metal ion concentration in groundwater because the groundwater means it looks very clearer. I already come across in water chemistry. So there the clearer water, it means it is not safe water. It may contain, due to clear filtering action of the rocky materials present in the ground, it may dissolve any other elements present in it in the large excess, how much is there and all can be analyzed. How much calcium, how much magnesium. You have already done titration, okay, total hardness experiment, okay, and cement sample also, calcium analysis. So here in that water, how much calcium, magnesium is there, hardness causing substances are there, that can be analyzed very precisely using this instrument, atomic absorption spectroscopy. Okay, then with these advantages, it is also having certain disadvantages. Let us see. So what are these? This technique has not proven to be successful for the estimation of elements like vanadium, silicon, molybdenum, titanium, and aluminum. Why? Because when you aspirate into the flame, when you dissolve, make the solution, and when you aspirate in the form of mist to the flame, what happens? So when they will come in contact with the thermal energy flame, there they will be getting, instead of evaporation, after evaporation of the solvent, instead of evaporation of the solid present in it, they will be changing to oxide form because this flame will be having the fuel and oxidant. It means it is burning is taking place in presence of oxygen, and it leads to the formation of oxide, vanadium oxide, silicon oxide, molybdenum oxide, titanium oxide, aluminum oxide in the flame. So those elements will be lost. You can't measure because you want these elements to be there in the atomic state only. Okay, if it is present in atomic state only, you can analyze. Otherwise, if they convert into oxide, then this oxide cannot absorb the radiation coming from the hollow cathode lamp. So that is it, that is why it is not possible. Now in aqueous solution, the anion effect also affects the signal to a little noticeable degree. And the another one is the separate lamp needed for each of the element analysis, determination of each element. Because I already mentioned, if you are analyzing for calcium, then this hollow cathode lamp must be containing that cathode which is coated. So calcium, magnesium, like this for every element. If you are analyzing for some 60 plus elements, means each analysis should have that 60 number of these hollow cathode lamp. So that's why every time you need to keep changing, and we need to make it, keep it ready, available for the analysis. So that is another disadvantage. So with this, atomic absorption spectroscopy is completed.